Hey, what's up everyone? It's SKULM here, and today we're going to talk about my tier 100 Necromancer build guide video. This is going to be a precise and short video. Hopefully, I will try to cover as much detail as possible, but I also want to keep this video brief. So, let's start off by talking about why are we playing Bone Spear. There are two main reasons why we're playing Bone Spear. First reason being, it offers great damage output both in AoE and single target scenarios. The second reason is, it is now tanky enough with proper build setup. I'm going to dive deep into these topics. For now, let's look at the damage department. For damage, we rely on Paragon board and gear. Basically, our setup gets great damage synergy with the following. Paragon glyphs. So, when we take sacrificial, if you look at the green text just above the glyph, you will see 22.5% damage increase, armor, dexterity and willpower, and then we deal further 10% increased damage when we have no active minions, and obviously we sacrifice everything. So it buffs these magic nodes around it, and it grants them 150% bonus. So these nodes are even more effective. So that's why we're taking sacrificial for the starter glyph. Then we go into the, by the way, there's gonna be a build planner link. Don't worry about the Paragon board. You can copy it exactly from the build planner. So on the Bone Graft board, we are going with Essence. And we have reached 97% critical strike damage because we have invested into dexterity here. So we have 49 out of 25 dexterity requirement, which gives us further critical strike damage bonus. In addition, the bonus effect is critical strikes deal 22% increased damage to enemies that are not healthy. That means enemies below 80% HP will take additional 22% critical strike damage. So on the third board, we play Scent of Death. Since this board has so many willpower nodes assigned to it, playing Imbiber is really good for your damage. Because if you look at the green text, it says 106.9% damage while healthy. So we are basically healthy when we are above 80% HP. And since we're playing with Lidless Wall, I'm going to go into detail about that. We have no problem maintaining our HP pretty much, because we have a great setup, and I will talk about it in the defensive section of this video. Next board, we play currently Flesh Eater. But on my build planner, I am taking points away from Flesh Eater, and I'm going to put them into dexterity here to feed the exploit glyph. Anyway, right now, just assume you can play Flesh Eater if you want as well. It's fine, but just assume that this does not exist. Here we play Control because there are so many intelligence nodes here. So basically, when we take Control. Actually, this is unnecessary, but anyway. You will see that we deal 148.5% damage to crowd-controlled enemies. Now, your Decrepify Curse is a slow effect, and the stun from Corpse Tendrils is a hard CC. So, what it says as a bonus, you and your minions deal 10% increased damage to slowed or chilled enemies, which means if you apply Decrepify, that's another 10% damage increase. Or, so basically this is a replacement, it does not stack, or instead, 20% increased damage to stunned or frozen enemies. When Corpse Tendrils grip all of the enemies around it, it applies a stun, so that's a 20% increased damage. During that window of opportunity, we want to kill things fast in a tier 100 dungeon. The Corpse Tendrils basically gives us the crowd control, applies a hard stun on elites and tough monsters, and basically gives us a damage increase. Now, this does not work on bosses, including the Butcher. However, it's great for clearing elites, and in Nightmare Dungeons, let's be honest, you want to kill fast, and there will be elites. So this actually gives you a lot of damage against elites, pretty much. And then we go into Bloodbath. We are not even worrying about that. We just want the glyph. And here we take exploit for the vulnerability damage. And when you unlock the additional effect, you will see dealing damage to a vulnerable enemy increases your damage by 1% for 6 seconds up to 10%. So basically, your bone spears, since they actually pierce through, will help you stack this up very fast, rather fast. Again, you can take away points from here and put them into these dexterity nodes to further empower your exploit glyph. Basically, these are the very important glyphs. Hopefully, I made this clear. When fighting Uber Lilith, you're gonna, of course, drop control, put sacrificial here, and basically, instead of sacrificial, you're gonna put Gravekeeper here, okay? That's pretty much the only change you need to do. Not even joking about this. So, for the gear, let's have a look at the gear as well. I started with the Paragon board, now I'm gonna have a look at the gear. We're also gonna talk about the skills as well, but yeah. Deathless Visage grants you maximum essence, critical strike damage with bone skills. Those two properties are really crucial for you. So you want to have a high rolled critical strike damage with bone skills and a high rolled maximum essence one. Physical damage, if it rolls high enough, that's a plus, that's a bonus advantage. Don't worry about the total armor. We're gonna take care of that on other pieces. On the chest armor, you will see that I am preferring a bone skill damage as well as physical damage rolled chest with damage reduction and total armor. And we are using, of course, the might aspect of might defensive legendary aspect. So on the chest item, since they nerfed the Necromancer, the critical strike, the vulnerability, and whatnot, improving your flat damage actually helps a lot to, you know, counterplay the nerfs. So if you actually go with bone skill damage and physical damage, or damage, since Bone Spear is physical damage, but yeah, damage is also good, that helps you, you know, counterplay some of the nerfs that has happened to the Necromancer. Damage reduction is extremely good. Total armor is very good since they actually help you stay alive. On gloves, I changed my gloves finally. You will see that I prefer attack speed, Bone Spear, of course, critical strike chance, and crit damage with bone skills. Again, this is a damage oriented build. Attack speed is really good for us because when corpse tendrils grip enemies together, we have a limited window of opportunity to kill them. And basically, the more bone spears we dish out, the more lucky hits we can do, generate essence back, and also, of course, kill the enemies. Now, we put ossified essence here, the serration, on our gloves. On the legs, this is a fully defensive item, and I strongly recommend you also opt in for these defensive properties. Dodge chance is an amazing affix, which is extremely underrated. If you watched my tier 100 clears, you will see that I frequently dodge attacks. I cannot stress this enough. It is crucial. It is amazing. It feels great. Anyway, dodge chance, max life, damage reduction, total armor. Pretty straightforward. Bone Storm granting us barrier because we are using a lidless wall. So lidless wall makes us spawn more Bone Storms. And the more Bone Storms we spawn, we continue generating a barrier. So that helps us stay alive even better. On the boots, you want evade charges because that legit helps you get out of some mechanics, some lethal mechanics. It also helps you, basically, if you have the nudging evade affix on the keys, this becomes a knockback, so you can chain knockback enemies if you have more evade charges. So this definitely helps you stay alive. And then you want movement speed, essence cost reduction. Again, you want dodge chance. And then I prefer all stats because, I don't know, it kind of gives me that sliver of health. That kind of makes me more confident, but you can choose to go intelligence instead of all stats. That's fine. We are using the Wind Striker FX here, the legendary. Basically, when we do a critical strike, we get movement speed. You can use the Ghost Walker here as well. It's completely up to you. The weapon, of course, is not perfect. Ideally, on the weapon, you want critical strike damage with bone skills, critical strike damage. So double dipping on critical strike damage is great because it actually counterplays the nerfs again. So crit with bone, crit damage, vulnerable, and then intelligence. If you get these 4 affixes on a weapon, if the weapon is high item level, you can pretty much say you have the best weapon. Okay? So again, crit with bone, crit damage, vulnerable, intelligence. And of course, you're gonna put the bone splinter aspect here, and then you're gonna put an emerald gem, because crit strike damage to vulnerable enemies, we have multiple ways of applying vulnerability, so why don't we want that extra critical strike damage? This is gonna be a one-handed sword, because swords also offer extra critical strike damage as their innate property. On the neck, you want Evulsion. Yes, they nerfed vulnerability damage, but Evulsion is still great. So, plus ranks to Evulsion definitely works. You want Essence cost reduction. So, the 2 important affixes here are Evulsion, Essence cost reduction. I personally have chosen damage reduction and lucky hit chance while you have a barrier, because I usually have a barrier and I want to get some extra lucky hit to proc the exposed flesh more often. Anyway, on the ring, I am using a critical strike damage, crit with bone, max essence and crit chance ring. As you see, I am double dipping on critical strike damage again. By the way, we're using grasping veins on the neck since it gets amplified. I'm gonna talk about the hearts in just a minute. On the ring, we have double dipping on crit damage, max essence and crit chance. And then we put Edge Master here. So it increases our Bone Spear damage even further when we have maximum essence. And in general, we don't have any essence problems. On the second ring, it's not a perfect ring, but it has physical damage, crit strike damage with bone, crit strike damage and crit chance. Instead of the physical damage, I would prefer vulnerability damage. Okay? So, and then we have exposed flesh. This is a great legendary aspect, because every time your Bone Spear pierces, it can proc. Works great against bosses as well. Works great against packs, elites, or whatever. And then finally we have the lidless wall, the bread and butter of our build pretty much. So I want to talk about this a little bit. If you look at the shield properties, it says blocked damage reduction, block chance, which is different than dodge. So it helps us stay alive even more, because if you block an attack, that's gonna give you 60% block damage reduction as well on top, which again saves your life, because I will explain how damage reduction works in this game. But on addition, it gives you 80% main hand weapon damage. Since we are using a sword, a one-handed sword, the shield will give us 80% main hand weapon damage. So that's gonna improve its damage. And that is the reason why we can actually still do 1 or 2 shots, even on tier 100 nightmare dungeons. Okay? So this lets you actually have more essence, a lucky hit chance proc to restore essence, gives you attack speed on top of using a one-hander, and then it lets you spawn additional bone storms. This helps you generate bone storm shields even more, and also when you cast bone storm, yes, you're gonna see all damage reduction. Now if I cast bone storm here, my all damage reduction went up to 42%. If I cast an auto attack, it's 53% already. And when bone storm is over, it's gone, right? But if you actually use lidless wall, you can keep this buff. So it lets you actually extend the benefits of the skills you have chosen. Okay, so let's talk about the skills. Auto attack to proc aspect of might and some essence generation. Maximum essence is good. This is bugged. I would probably put 3 points here, but now I can only put 1 point. Bone Spear, maxed, enhanced, and paranormal. Then we have Hued Flesh to generate corpses, so we have corpse tendrils. I'm gonna go back to the hearts. Just give me 1 second. So basically we can take away a point in corpse explosion, since we're not gonna be using that, and put it into somewhere else. Probably here. Anyway. Grim Harvest maxed, Fueled by Death max. I will explain why I max these. Death's Embrace, Death's Reach max, amplify damage because we use Decrepify in this build. Manually use it. We have Tendrils for vulnerability, Serration, Compound Fracture, and Emulsion maxed, and we get 3 more points from the amulet. Standalone Memento Mori maxed, Inspiring Leader 1 point, doesn't matter. Bone Storm, Prime Bone Storm for the 15% damage reduction, and then Supreme Bone Storm for 20% additional critical strike chance. As I said, Lidless Wall extend these, so that's massively helps us. Ossified Essence for the keynote. I already talked about the Paragons. Now let me talk about the hearts. The hearts are very important. Doesn't matter where you use them. On this setup, I am using 2 Vicious Hearts and 1 Brutal Heart. This automatic, I call it the Auto Corpse Heart. This automatic Corpse Heart is using whatever corpse skill you have active on your bar and basically automatically procs it. Right now, we only have Corpse Tendrils. We don't have Corpse Explosion. So it will cast Corpse Tendrils every 6 seconds. Okay, every 6 seconds, it's an automatic Corpse Tendril cast. It does not put your Corpse Tendril on cooldown, so you can cast back-to-back double Corpse Tendrils. 1 from the heart that procs and 1 manually, your own Corpse Tendril, okay? I will explain this in detail in just a second. On the ring, we are using another Vicious Heart, which is the Tempting Fate, I think. It gives us 80% critical strike damage, additive. It's additive critical strike damage, but it is still good. It's still enough to carry our damage even further. Now, I think, yes, all of you are super excited about the Barber, but I think this is the best Malignant Heart of this season. This Brutal Heart, the Revenge one, is insane. It makes you so much tankier. Let me read. 19% of incoming, up to 20% of incoming damage is instead suppressed. When you use a defensive, subterfuge, or a macabre skill, all suppressed damage is amplified by 200% X and explode, dealing up the X damage to nearby enemies. I don't care about the damage, but the suppression property, that suppression property is insane. It's insane. And from what I heard and from what I've also tested, it right now double dips into survivability, which means it somehow first reduces the damage taken by 20%, and then once the damage is taken, it also applies another 20% reduction. I'm not so sure. That's what I heard. That's what I also observed. But it makes you super tanky, okay? This makes you extremely tanky. If Blizzard somehow nerfs this, then we are gonna go back to my original setup. Still keep this, but we're gonna replace this Vicious Heart with another Brutal Heart and keep the immunity shield on, okay? So we're gonna play double Brutal if they nerf this. If they don't nerf this, play this offensive setup. I hope that was clear. So the hearts are done. I talked about this. I will show you right now a Butcher clip. I have basically engaged with a tier 1 Butcher to see how he can do on World Tier 1. Of course, he was just a little baby. And then I have engaged with a World Tier 4 Torment Butcher to see how he does. He has also become a little baby. And then you will see that I actually engaged against a tier 61 level 115 Butcher. So that's 15 level higher than a level 100 character. And we were tanking his hits, and you will see it in just a second. So, as you see, this definitely makes us super tanky, and I love it. I personally love it. Enough said. So, our next stop is basically the defensive part of the build. So, when we look, right now we don't do anything. Our all damage reduction is 31%. Okay, we don't do anything. Aspect of might. In my videos, in my clear videos, you sometimes see me just cast this auto attack. Look here. This gives us 20% damage reduction for 6 seconds. You can see it here. It's 45%. And if I really want to just jump into something or just engage against the hard pack, it's Bone Storm time. I will show you when I pop it. 53%. And this is without Decrepify. Decrepify is another 20%. And look, we're gonna spawn some other Bone Storms here. My Bone Storm is in cooldown, but look, I am still spawning new Bone Storms. And damage reduction is still going, look. So every time you hit a new enemy that is not affected by Bone Storm, you keep spawning and you keep regenerating shield. Okay? This is extremely important. That's the automatic corpse tendril. So as long as you have one Bone Storm going somewhere, you can keep spawning. Alright? That's something important to remember. So as long as you keep it going, it will keep spawning until it hits the limit, obviously. So we talked about these. Okay, critical strike chance by default mine is 47%. Of course, if you use grasping veins aspect, that's another 30% on top, which makes it 77. And then I have Bone Storm. If I use it, that's another 20. That makes me reach 97% critical strike chance, which pretty much means guaranteed in my book. So for defense, again, we rely on the hearts, and the Uber Unique did the shield. So then what about essence? Like, how do we manage our essence? Well, it's pretty easy, I must say, because again, I told you I was going to explain why I am using Fueled by Death and Grim Harvest, and I'm not using Corpse Explosion. Normally, Corpse Explosion consumes a corpse, and Corpse Tendrils, if you read, it says does not consume the corpse. So if you use a manual Corpse Tendrils, it does not consume a corpse. But this heart that makes Corpse Tendrils automatically cast somehow makes it consume the corpse and trigger Grim Harvest as well as Fueled by Death. So I get free 9% damage increase for 6 seconds and essence regen. So why not? Look, just check here for the buff, okay? Look what's good. Look, they procced. I will get essence when it procs. If I press it manually, look, again it procced. If I press it manually, I will not get it. Look, I'm gonna press manually. That's the crit chance. Look. So basically this automatic corpse heart somehow consumes these corpses and gives us free damage. Also, it really helps in Nightmare Tier 100 dungeons, because you can stun the monsters, and stunning these monsters, making them not attack you, are vital. Now, again, I told you something that we didn't even use Decrepify. So you saw our damage reduction, and then we still can use Decrepify to apply 20% damage reduction on top of that. But the damage reduction in this game is capped. There is a soft cap of 70%, if I'm not mistaken. So the damage reduction, once you reach somewhere around 70%, that's your sweet spot. Okay, I will go back to essence generation I don't want this video to be too long. But anyway, damage reduction, again, 70% is the soft cap. We are still going to use Decrepify for slowing them, applying additional damage and whatnot. But at the same time, I just want you to know 70% damage reduction is as good as it gets. There's a soft cap. So how do we survive? We have dodge chance. I explained this before. Dodge chance 18.4%. That's giga. Then we have block chance. Basically, block chance reduces the incoming damage by 60%. So dodge and block are the first layer of our defense, okay? Dodge and block are the first layer of our defense. If the attack or the damage goes through them, okay? If the attack or the damage goes through them, then we have damage reduction. So basically, when we have, oh yeah, armor and elemental resistances are after dodge and block, and basically armor and elemental resistances are the second layer, and after that we have the damage reduction aspect. After the damage reduction, we have the brutal heart that's suppressing 20% damage reduction, and it's double dipping right now, as I said before. So let me know about what you think. I think that's the most powerful heart in this season. About the essence, I already talked about it. We have automatic corpses generating essence. Then we have our exposed flesh. When we cast the Bone Storm, it is a bone ability. It has 40% lucky hit chance.
Greetings.
Bro, I'm recording a video. Please let me be. Bone Storm has 40% lucky hit chance, okay? But there's a trick. When you cast a Bone Storm, that lucky hit is not continuous. It will do it only one time. So Bone Storm, Bone Storm lucky hit to restore essence is limited on the number of its spawns, okay? And there is another reason why I am not using the Barber Heart. If I would use a Barber Heart during its accumulation phase, it prevents the exposed flesh to proc a lucky hit and restore essence. So the Barber Heart literally makes you starved. On top of that, it prevents Bone Storm to shield you. So Bone Storm shield doesn't apply, and exposed flesh essence generation doesn't apply. And I don't want that. I want to survive, and I want to kill fast in a tier 100 dungeon. Alright? So those are important bits of information that I think you need to know. And basically everything else is just your gear setup. Make sure to check the build planner in the link, so you can actually copy the Paragon setup and everything else you fancy. And after that, just go out and slay the tier 100 Nightmare Dungeon. And the last topic I want to talk about is the tier 100 Nightmare Dungeon nerf. Now, most people, not most people, but some people are saying, oh, it's super easy now. Tier 100 is nothing special anymore. You know, I disagree with that partially. I am going to show you a clip of me clearing a pre-season tier 100 dungeon, and then I am going to show you a clip of me clearing a season 1 tier 100 dungeon. If you don't know what happened to tier 100 dungeon, I will also show you the developer notes. They nerfed it, and the community manager Pezradar said it should feel like the old tier 70 now, and lots of people are saying, oh, this is too easy now, this is too easy now. Okay, compared to the old tier 100, the current season 1 tier 100 dungeons feel definitely significantly easier, because we have so much power creep going on with the brutal hearts, malignant hearts, and also the monsters, of course, are nerfed. However, there is one major thing you're forgetting about. I'm talking to those people. It's the level difference. those monsters are still 54 levels higher than the player. That means they can still one-shot. That means they can still kill you easily. So this does not mean you can face roll through everything and anything. Of course, it's easier compared to the old tier 100, I understand. But at the same time, I'm gonna be brutally honest here. In the old tier 100 dungeons, you really wanted to pray for a nice affix, nice key, so you could actually complete it and get the achievement. At least that's how I did it. Or you could just re-roll to a Bulwark Druid and finish everything in 3 to 4 seconds, so who cares? Was it really super hard and challenging for Bulwark Druids? The old tier 100s, they just laughed and just completed tier 100s anyway. So why not make more build diversity? Now, I'm not saying they're super hard or whatever. They're still hard, that's what I'm saying. But compared to the old tier 100, they're not that hard. But again, all tier 100s, on the other hand, they were not hard for a Bulwark Druid. Or if you rolled a nice key in a nice map, they were not hard anyway. So why can't I just play more keys and enjoy the game? Instead of just doing it once or twice or, like, I don't know, multiple times and then just calling it a day. Like, it makes it refreshing for me, and I actually support this decision. By the way, if you have read the latest patch notes, you will see that the monster density in Nightmare Dungeons have increased, and then we have an extreme buff to boss HP. Bosses at level 100 and above have now 150% increased health. Enjoy! Anyway, that's it. Thank you so much. And I'll see you in the next one. Enjoy.